Mrs. Claus.
Grief is a strange thing. It's our core response to loss, an atrociously overwhelming feeling. As much as we try to withhold it, it can get the better of us, controlling our wants and drives at every level of emotionality. Yet we can still try to quantify it, to understand it in a simplistic way. In 1969, Swiss-American psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote that grief could be divided into 5 steps we know today as the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. However, there is a small disclaimer that comes with the Kubler-Ross method, a little footnote at the end of the document. Not everyone will experience all 5 stages, and you may not go through them in this order. Some don't go through this process as cleanly as one would assume. Sometimes it's a long and winding journey to the other side. Sometimes you forget where you're going along the way, and sometimes you reach the end of this arduous process only to have the fruits of your actions ripped away from you in an instant, with only an even longer journey ahead. Enter Wanda Maximoff, the magician of chaos, the master of evil, the Scarlet Witch herself. But wait a second, we're not there yet. Let's go back to... Hi, this is Wanda. Hi, Wanda. Yeah, no, her introduction into the MCU wasn't necessarily one full of hopes and dreams, but that was always kind of the point. Being a Maximoff twin was never easy. Throughout Age of Ultron, Elizabeth Olsen and Aaron Taylor Johnson deliver their performance with a touch of youthful charm while still maintaining that sense of grief and longing for what was.
I have a little picture. I take it out and look at it every day.
The death of their parents was the first loss, the kickoff that changed their lives forever. Grief took the form of anger and it drove both their motives. And in desperation, they turned to an organization they didn't truly understand. Age of Ultron showcases the effects of our characters' defining decisions, hitting home this message of how the Stark legacy is not one of innocence and how his demons will always come back to haunt him. Tony has his own grief, but that's a story for another time. But the twins, their grief seems to take a different turn. It's been nearly 15 years since the bombing, and we get that feeling that they may have gone through that process of acceptance together, keyword being together. Wanda and Pietro have a close connection, and bonding over the loss of their parents only continues to strengthen that relationship. They're each protective of each other, they've gone through so much together, and they're my favorite character pair-up in the entire movie. Brother and sister, in it together.
You didn't see that coming.
After Ultron, most of our Avengers come home relatively unscathed, either going off to make something new for themselves or continuing their journey of heroism. But Wanda, she's put in a bit of a depression blender. Her strongest confidant riddled with bullets, she lives with the trauma of yet another lost relative, this one stronger than the rest. There's a reason we don't really see Wanda frolicking around the Avengers compound. She's in this foreign country being a superhero for a world that doesn't really like her all that much, and the one person she could have gone through this with is rotting in a grave because of a robot she indirectly spawned. So she stays in her room watching sitcoms from her past, longing for the times that were. I see this part of her life as some form of bargaining, her attempt at rebuilding structure in her life. Maybe that's how she sees the Avengers Initiative, a way for her to redeem herself of her sins and the trauma she's gone through. But clearly it doesn't work for long, so she recluses herself into a corner, closing herself from those around her. Until...
Liz, we talked about this.
Yes, but the door was open, so I assumed that...
Vision has a key unique character trait in these films that I like to call the "aw, aren't you such a wonderful little soul" trait. Not only is it Paul Bettany's excellent portrayal, but I think it's also attributed to the formal nuance of his dialogue. He's a robot, but he's not just any robot. He's thoughtful and precise while still maintaining a charm in his composure. You can slowly come to understand why Wanda likes this guy. And as much as it seems, I don't think it's necessarily love at first sight. It's a natural progression. They get to know each other over the course of Phase 3, and we get the perfect little snippets of interaction in between. And then finally, after 3 years of buildup, chemistry, and cute moment compilations, we finally get...
I just feel you.
Infinity War accomplished a lot in its extremely fast-paced 2.5 hours, and I love it for that because in the midst of the action and chaos, we get a focused central arc on these two characters, starting with this absolutely beautiful scene. After all these years of anger, resentment, and guilt, Wanda has finally found someone to open up to embrace with love. In a way, it's the slightest sign of acceptance, trying to move on and make a new life for herself, and it seems to be working really well.
We are out of time.
It's the final draw, the last stand, no path out. The stakes are high and the risks are extreme, especially in the final act. Infinity War maintains this stretched sense of dread for what's to come. We know Vision's got that dumb stone stuck in his head, and we know one way or another it's coming out. But throughout the film, our heroes keep getting the odds stacked against them, and as they enter their final stand, we slowly realize what needs to happen.
It's all right. You could never hurt me. I just feel you.
It's not fair for Wanda. It never will be. This wasn't a Stark bomb that randomly blew up the building. This wasn't a killer robot lusting for vengeance. No, this was Wanda. It has to be Wanda. It's the universe laughing at her, and as much as she wants, she has no other choice but to just do it. In my favorite moment in the film, Wanda makes the ultimate sacrifice, cementing herself as the hero of tragedy. The lowest point in her. Oh.
You took everything from me.
Oh no.
I can't feel you.
This isn't good. Grief pervades every moment of Wanda's life. It's just like it always is. After the heroes go home, after the universe is saved, after the epic adventure of a lifetime concludes, Wanda is left at the end of the road, grieving the life she could have had, lamenting the loss of the one she loved the most. She's left all alone once again. So of course she breaks. Of course she explodes into chaos. Of course she creates a new reality where she can play pretend for as long as she wants, distant from the world that treated her so cruel for so long. Denial. Her life has moved far too fast to take in that first step of grief, but the toll has just been too heavy for so long, and in agony, this magician of chaos finally releases her curse upon the world. With WandaVision, the MCU has been able to retroactively give Wanda Maximoff a cohesively tragic yet emotionally resonant arc. A year after its logical conclusion, this universe has been able to revitalize itself in the most unique of ways, and it couldn't be more satisfying to watch. So thank you, Marvel, for making this truly beautiful story about loss, denial, mental health, and the importance of grief. I can't wait to see more from the Scarlet Witch.